Well, welcome to the second hour of MindShifters Radio. Today's Thursday, October the 30th, 2025. And we'll say welcome, Michael. Hi, Kerry.
Hi there.
How are you today?
Doing really good.
What's exciting in your world, young lady?
So, for the first time this morning, I joined a new group called Writing from Within. I found it on Substack. And
Writing?
Writing from Within.
Okay, got it.
And because I've been wanting to do more writing, and they are a group of older women. So that was kind of nice. And they use a tarot deck called it's the Tarot of the She, S-H-E, the Sacred She, S-H-E, not S-I-D,
Right.
not S-I-D-H-E, but
Right.
she is woman.
Right.
And
Interesting.
yeah, and so what was interesting is we had three sections of writing with prompts. And the first prompt is your outer layer, what you feel comfortable sharing with anyone. The second prompt
Right.
was your middle layer, what you feel comfortable sharing with special friends. And the third prompt is your inner layer, which perhaps you feel more comfortable keeping to yourself. Well,
Or
anyway,
perhaps even hide from yourself.
yeah, or hide from yourself. Yeah, exactly. So what was interesting was the cards that came up. And so the first prompt, I just was like, hallelujah. The first prompt was blame. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is exactly what we're
Why
working
is
on.
this back here?
So we wrote nonstop for just a few minutes, like 10 or 12 minutes on each one. So the first one was blame. The second prompt was integrity. And that was so beautiful to me because as we begin to release blame and stand in our integrity about the truth of who we are and acknowledging the truth of our own kind of internal mess, emotional mess, or like you say, just habitual ways of thinking and being, all the stuff from our power person, as we become aware of that and we stop blaming, and that blame also includes not blaming ourselves, not just blaming other people, but not blaming ourselves and standing in integrity. Then the third prompt was imagination. And it was interesting to me because what I wrote about was the differences really between fantasizing, daydreaming, and imagination. And how, imagination kind of incorporates daydreaming and fantasizing to a certain extent. But imagination is more about carefully constructed possibilities and following that through to some sort of completion and to some sort of realization. It's a possibility, a new me, a new life, a new relationship with myself and others, getting rid of the blame, standing in my integrity, using the tools, and then beginning to imagine this new life, this new me, this new relationship with myself and others. And then she pulled a card for further reflection at the very end. We wrote about that. And the card she pulled was joy. So what
Sweet.
I know, and what I wrote was, oh my God, these prompts are amazing. We go from blame to integrity to imagination to joy. And for me, those cards follow this kind of continuum of awareness of, my journey, and what a beautiful evolution of thought and came to me. And it's this awareness that I really can move from blame to stand in my integrity, go through that awareness, and then reimagine myself reborn, a new person, totally released from all that blame as I stand in my integrity. And the joy that I am feeling that comes from releasing those barriers, like A Course in Miracles says, just it's like letting go of knowing your true self, of knowing who I truly am in my wholeness and my purpose. And I just thought, wow, this was an amazing adventure I was on this morning. It was beautiful things.
Well, it's so appropriate in the context of what you were processing on Sunday in the codependent session.
Well, it very, very much is. And I realized my little head shake there before I said, no, I'm keeping this child. This was the thought that had gone through my mind when I did the little head shake. No, was
Right.
my dad telling me I couldn't keep the child. I had to put it up for adoption. It's just a fleeting thought. And then I was, no, I don't want to give up this child. I'm keeping this child.
Right.
Yeah. So, when I go and talk to my daughter about my bulldozing behavior that was a mirror of my power person's behavior, although in a different way, it manifested slightly differently, but it was the same thing, is that I can go and give her an apology without blaming myself. I don't need to beat myself up. Oh, I'm a horrible person that I did this or anything like that. Is that this is what happened. I now see this is where it came from. And I apologize deeply if you do not feel supported by me. So I feel really positive about that. I feel, I was thinking about that a lot yesterday, and doing this journaling today was just, and now all I feel is the joy. I just feel the joy of my relationship with my daughter.
Well, what a pathway to go through each of those cards that were pulled, from blame to getting to what your ultimate goal was. And I mean, you'd went through each of the steps, each of the stages so perfectly. That's pretty cool that
I
kind of
know.
support showed up.
I
Congratulations,
know.
nice.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And I might, since it came into your language, suggest looking at a worksheet or two on beating yourself up.
Yeah.
That you can simply speak of support about yourself. And the fact that that comes into the conversation says there's still some old brain cells that maybe need to be cleaned out, maybe genetic stuff about beating oneself up when less than perfect, or maybe a mind shifter. Even when I'm less than perfect, people cherish and honor me and support me.
So, I felt like as I was doing this exercise, I kind of felt like this is like the principle of the mind shifter,
Yeah,
of
it took you through every step. It's
doing
awesome.
this, just sitting and writing, having a prompt and that you give as a mind shifter or a tarot card, having this prompt and then sitting and writing. It was just, it's not the traditional tarot. It's very different, but it's a beautiful thing. So thank you for your mind shifters and for that exercise, basically in writing, that knowledge that as I write, those things come up to be healed, right? And I did write that in the blame part about not beating myself up, so, or not blaming myself as well. So yeah, I think I'll do some more work on that as well.
Yeah, the thing to recognize is, as the frequency crosses the mind, there's a power within it that says yes to everything that crosses our mind. And so the things you want to have cross your mind are the things that you really truly are about, rather than as the old world's game is about what we're avoiding. So that's powerful.
Yes, and I just found this group on Substack, and I just followed my intuition, and I just signed up right away because it's a free thing. It's just a group you join. It's not anything you pay for. And there were just 5 of us. So if anybody wants to join that group, you can join it. It's totally open to anybody who wants to do that. And it's called Writing from Within. And to me, that's really the only true writing there is from within. Otherwise, it's just a mental kind of stimulating thing that you do, just I'll stimulate my mental thing. And so I was thinking about what you're writing for Jeannie's book and how it's coming from a deep intuitive journey that you're going on.
That's exactly it. That's where it is flowing from. The thought comes that writing from within, and what you're describing is really writing revelations.
Yes.
Allowing the part of us that is in continuous revelation to access to the conscious mind, to that 9-bit space, and filling it with revelation rather than the old interpretations from the past. Powerful.
Yes, very powerful.
And
so,
Kerry, I wrote the name of a book in the chat room. It's called Writing Down Your Soul by Janet Connor.
And what book is this now?
Writing Down Your Soul. And I loved the book. And then I went to see her in person and I was disappointed. But her book is fantastic.
What's her last name, Janet?
Connor, Conner.
So what disappointed you about her?
Her book was really good. Like it started out explaining, like you need to have a journal that is comfortable for you, that lays flat or whatever, and a pen that you like the way that it flows. And so she talks about the logistics of writing. And then she goes into, give God a name that means something to you. And so when you write to that person or that deity or creator or universe or whatever. And so it was just real informative and I really enjoyed following it. And it gave me some good tips for writing. But when she gave her talk, it was just so totally different. It was a different tone. I don't know. Her talk just did not resonate with me, but I loved the book.
Interesting. Yes, I think too, I've been thinking about some of my old journals that I kept. And I mean, they're so full of rage and hostility that I don't even know that I want them in my house. Yet I feel that it's a reminder of
good worksheet material.
Yeah, who I used to be and how I used to function, and maybe not even just good worksheet material, but also good journaling material to go and review. Yeah, so I can go and review one of those and I can be forgiving of myself, of forgiving all of that rage within me, and that, yeah, I become the subject of my worksheets. And
Susan might add to that of, you know, she has a bunch of journals and the journey that she's gone in rereading them.
Let me
You
just
are
throw,
on to, so go ahead, Michael.
yeah, before we open the floor with you, Susan, I want to hear what you have to say. And just a thought is that it sounds like your guidance is to get that vibration out of your house. That
yeah,
you
I
don't
don't
need it.
even,
Doesn't
yeah,
mean
I
you need
don't,
to trash it. Maybe you want to put it in the storage somewhere, because it also, each time you revisit it, you know, it's a conversation Susan and I had when she was way back when she was, starting to work with her journals. It's each time you visit, you'll find a whole new a whole new process, and a whole new way of support. But I'd honor that intuition that says this vibration doesn't need to be in my physical space. Just a thought.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, Miss Susan, share with us your experience of what you're doing with your journals.
Well, Terry, I'm telling you, I do regret because I burned all my journals up through college. I had kept them throughout my childhood, and I went back through those enough to know that they were just filled with self-pity and blaming and
Mm-hmm.
garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I burned them all. And I started writing journals from a different mind after that. And those journals taught me that I had been a blamer and a self-pitying person, and whatever I had put in there that was useful, I'm sorry, I can't go find them. So Michael's right. Don't get rid of them, but if you start working on a memoir or something, they may come in handy and you'll know what you can use out of them, and you don't have to have them in your house. Meanwhile, that's a great idea, Michael.
So, Susan, tell me about writing a memoir. Who is the audience for this
That's,
memoir?
I have no idea, but it didn't seem to matter. I just started, first of all, those first years up through teenagehood, I had to reconstruct. And that's a good way. I mean, because I didn't have much material to refer to, the first 100 pages just flowed out of me. What I remembered, memories of this and that. I found old photographs and described a quirky, odd childhood, full spectrum from terrible stuff to wonderful stuff, and put it down. And after that, I had my more recent journals, that is, starting in graduate school, to refer to. And that's been a much harder thing because there's a lot of garbage in there too. For instance, I was in therapy with a woman I had a complete addict's fix on. And I would come home from my sessions and write down verbatim everything she said, because every word she said was like God's word. And a lot of that has not been useful. But interspersed with those were memories, things that happened between us. But always, my point is, I don't want to just describe things, I kind of show things. I kind of go into the experience as if it's happening right now, although some of it's in the present tense and some is in the past tense. And found a lot of doodles and paintings and cutouts and artwork that I'm sticking in there, here and there, and photographs. It's been a way to process. And it's only at this point, the first draft was everything. It's 1,500 pages long. And I've gone back and edited. I'm on my third draft. The third draft could be for the general public, but I'm not even really there yet. I'm just thinking in terms of what's really interesting here, what is boring. And sometimes I can't tell. So I've hired a niece, an artist, a dancer, and a mime who is in her 60s to, and I'm paying her well to be my first reader. And I tell her to be brutal. What's confusing, you don't need to copy edit particularly because I'm good at that, although nobody doesn't need one of those. But I've asked her to tell me what is engaging and what's too long and what should be cut out and just be brutal. And she's going through it very slowly. She's only done 37 pages. She's telling me she loves it. And she's only told me so far to shorten one section that had just too many details that were confusing. So far, so good. That's it.
Mm.
But these journals are healing me. I can't tell you. It's like doing, I don't know what it is, but the tools that I got from Michael's tools and the work Tim Hayes has done with me, I had this sort of vision of him yesterday during our radio show that he was like a dad who was pushing me along and I'm a kid on a bike with training wheels. And at first he's back there keeping me afloat. Then he steps over a little median and he is now running beside me. And now my training wheels are falling off. And now my bike is bigger and I'm bigger. And my dad is running beside me, this wonderful dad that I had, Tim Hayes / dad, who is, and that's part of the addiction, I think, is I conflated the most beautiful creature in my childhood was my father, who couldn't protect or didn't protect us from our mother, but otherwise was the sweetheart. He's running along beside me, and my next thought is, okay, I'm ready to speed ahead. And a fearful thought comes right up. Will Tim Hayes, my dad, be there if I speed ahead? And I do think he will be in some form or other, and I don't know what that is, but everything's going to be okay. I can't tell you how healing this has been. And I'm having dreams at night that fit right in with this and synchronicities all hell over the place. And I think it started in 2017 when I started with the tools.
Oh, that's incredible. It sounds like you're really telling us about the healing power of memory and writing and going within and deeper.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say that in, dream interpretation, because whether it's our dream at night or the dream of this world, Dad is our higher authority, our higher self.
Mm.
And if wondering if, as you begin to wonder, is my dad still going to be there? If you can shift it from Tim Hayes and some outside person to your own higher inner authority, is that going to be there with me my whole life?
Yeah, that's a good thought. And when my dad died, he died on the golf course after having putted a hole in one. And he was bragging to his friends and just went down. And he was near the clubhouse and they raced out and they tried to bring him around and he was just gone. So he
Wow.
had this amazing death, joking with his friends, albeit said he had angina. And he disregarded the pain in his chest when his friends were around because he was embarrassed to take his little pill of nitroglycerin. And I'm wondering if he was bragging in spite of the pain, which is a metaphor in itself, but let's just let that go. Anyway, I have felt my dad with me ever since. He is in me. So in a sense, I've already got him. But what am I doing with these addictions? And Tim Hayes is the most recent, thank goodness, gentle iteration of this because he's been on the radio show, which is a safe place, a safe type of person to choose to have an addiction over because I know the rules and I'm basically okay. So I have used him as my pacemaker, which I do have a pacemaker, and it was put in at a very hard time in my life, and he's been kind of my pacemaker, and I no longer need the pacemaker. Literally, the bundle branch block has practically healed, which the doctor said would never happen. But my pacer is not pacing because I'm doing what it needs to do.
Doing your
Uh,
work.
Yeah.
doing the work. And also, Michael, Tim Hayes said, give your testimonial on the radio show. And I said I would. And I couldn't find the words in his hour. So here I am yakking away on your hour. No fairs. But anyway,
It's perfectly fair. Of course.
I know.
There's only one of us.
I know. That's true. You guys are in sync. Um, I've been using the meditation and breathing on my hip pain, and somehow all of this is so connected. And it's too early to say the results of that, but I'm feeling that as if the way the pacer connected, which was not possible, the hip's going to do the same thing.
Same thing. Absolutely.
Mm,
Absolutely. We're here to hold the space for that. It's
thank you. I wonder if I could ask a favor of the whole group listening. A dear friend of
of course.
mine who's in her 60s stepped backwards off her deck 2 days ago and
Ouch.
broke her neck and is paralyzed from the waist down. We don't know if she's going to get movement back. This is just mind-boggling because the lessons in life seem too hard. She's a person that just is wonderful. And so what lesson and all that. But I just wonder if I could ask people to hold, her name is MJ, Mary Jane. MJ, if you could
Mm.
keep MJ's neck in your prayers, and MJ, and whatever is best. Of course, you can't ask for a healing when that isn't what's in the cards, but some greater healing, if not the immediate healing, would be great.
Well, the neck is the connection between heaven and earth.
Mm,
So we'll see her being able to make that connection between heaven and earth, and then the appropriate outcome in the physical realm.
yeah, thanks. It's been very disturbing for her and
That's really
painful.
got to be tough. Yeah.
God. Yeah. Great topic, Kerry.
Yay. All right. Well, any other thoughts for you, Susan?
No, thanks. I'll mute and let you carry on from here.
Hey, thank you.
Okay.
Well, we're about the halfway point. And so, how does everybody be? Jeannie and I went to an event with our granddaughter family about 2 weeks ago, and I bought a little. It's actually a kitchen knit thing that you'd put in a kitchen, and I bought it because it was right at the point, as I was sharing on the show, about opening the connection to the uplink. And today, that the stitching on it says "Be still and know." And so that's what's on my mind mostly today. Just being still and knowing. And by the way, we had our first meeting today with the printer and the publishing house that's going to handle Jeannie's book, and it's all rock and roll and underway. So that's exciting. Anything you want to share about it, Jeannie?
I was just, when Kerry asked Susan about, her writing and who was the audience. My book starts out and it is full of garbage events that happened to me and the thoughts that I took on about each event and each person that participated. And then the book moves through to healing. I mean, there's a chapter where I do a worksheet on 15 different things that I say in one chapter. And, I say, in the one chapter, it's titled, Who Am I? And it goes through, I'm useless, or I'm used goods, or I'm, disposable, or all these thoughts. Well, then later there is a chapter where I do a worksheet on every one of those disintegrative thoughts. And my audience, I think, is going to be anybody else who has gone through something like that or generationally went through it, and that there is hope. It shows an example of, this is what I faced and this is how I went through it. It's got a lot of negative in it, and then how I get to turn that around. And so for me, I hope that my audience is anybody, men or women, who find themselves in a difficult situation with disintegrative thoughts about themselves, or blame themselves for something that happened to them, and showing them that there is a way out. There's a way to change it. And Susan just asked for a tooth report. Thank you. It's feeling much better. Michael did some energy work on me this morning, and I used the red light on it last night, and I'm doing well. I'm eating soft foods today. So thank you for asking.
Your cheek went down, Jeannie.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Jeannie, I can't imagine your book won't be for everybody.
No, I'm sure it won't.
No, it will
I think
be.
she was saying the opposite, Gene.
I
Oh,
was saying the
okay.
opposite. It will be for everybody. I mean, that was a double negative. Those are hard to follow. Sorry about that. I just think everybody, your trauma was dramatic and out there in a way that makes a dramatic story. And that's going to be a vehicle for other people who can find their way into their own trauma, maybe that was not as outward, but still is very much there. I think being on the earth, on the planet, means we've had trauma. How can you avoid it? The
Yeah.
process of being separate from one another is traumatic in itself.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's exciting, Jeannie. I'm glad. Who
Thank
is your publisher?
We're going to go through Book Baby, because
Oh,
what
yeah,
they
you
do
mentioned that.
is they
We'll be
will,
self-publishing.
yeah, I'm self-publishing, but
Yeah.
Book Baby will do all of the, like, I'll send them the PDF
Mhm.
and the cover and everything, and they turn it into what they call an EPUB
Mhm.
format. And first they'll send me a printed copy of the book so that I can physically see it and see how
Yes.
it lays out and everything.
How
But
fun.
then once it's approved, they send it to Amazon, Kindle, Barnes and Noble, Ingle Books, all of the
Ingram. Yeah.
Ingram, yeah, all of the big
Wonderful.
name stores. I mean, it'll be available anywhere. And then they will handle, people can, of course, I'm ordering, those who pre-ordered, I'm having those books printed and sent to me, and then I'll sign them and send them out to everybody that pre-ordered. And
Wonderful.
then after that it'll be print on demand. So somebody just goes, say, to Amazon and they order it, and Book Baby prints it, sends it to Amazon, who mails it out within just like a
Fantastic.
couple of days from the time it's ordered.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well,
And then,
sorry, I interrupted
no,
you.
I was going to say, and then it'll be available for all Kindle readers and Nook readers.
Nice. My daughter has published several books, and she was telling me that her latest book, she can't find a publisher. And usually people who have published have an easier time getting a publisher. But she said the publishing industry itself has changed so much because people can self-publish so expediently and have so much more flexibility. Like you could go in and edit something maybe, or add something, and that's your newer version. And there they can, right? Brooke Baby can take that one and publish that for other people. And so
Yeah.
she's thinking of self-publishing just like you for the first time, and her the bookstore where connected to her cathedral is mad at her because they say, no, you've got to get a real publisher. And I'm thinking, no, probably not necessary anymore.
Right. I've had, several people, including Michael, do, like proofing, and then like you said, you sent your memoir to your cousin. I have a close friend who's not involved in this work at all. And
Mhm.
I gave her the book, had it printed out, and just, on 8.5 by 11 paper,
Right.
and had her read it. And she came back with several things of, well, this chapter was a little over my head, or
Yeah.
whatever. And so I made some changes based on her feedback. And then another lady who was a school teacher, and she did more, you need a comma here, you need to,
Yeah.
things
Copy
like that.
editing.
Right.
Right.
And so, and then I've done a lot of, I'll put a chapter out to Chat GPT and ask them to check for punctuation, and it came back with a lot. I had a tendency to talk in the past and the present, and so it would change a lot so that um, it was the same.
Stayed in the same tense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That is
so,
a tricky thing sometimes.
yeah, it is. So there's been a lot of edits and all, but once we give them the approval and the go, any changes that I make, it will have to be a new print. It's not, you can't just change the book and then reprint it, with the changes. So it has to be more or less perfect before we say, yeah, go.
I didn't really understand why you can't submit a newer, I mean, you say they're printing them as they're demanded, so why couldn't they print a newer one by demanded, or have they
Well, they
formatted
can,
it?
but it'll be a new book. It would be like version 2 or
Okay.
whatever. It couldn't be the same book, same name, because they have to, I guess, do their software and stuff the way that they have to input it.
Oh,
Then they
yeah, I see.
basically have to do it all over again. So it would
Got it.
have to be a second version of the book.
Too bad, but I get it. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
Okay.
you for asking.
Oh,
And thanks everybody for your support.
You got it, sweetie. I'm excited. I'm excited that it's heading out there. And other than that, how's everybody doing? Anything else exciting happening? Terry, how are you doing?
I had to navigate around there. I'm doing well, and thanks for the support with everything. But the vertigo stuff shifted last night, and your comment on that about the possibility of the structure, realigning, and that seemed to be right on. And
Good.
there was
I was concerned,
there
but I
was-
didn't hear back from you this morning. So
Yeah,
glad you're doing all right.
Yeah, it was kind of, it came on over a few days, and then it got a little bit more intense yesterday, and then I connected with you and then followed the instructions for that one maneuver they have
Right.
you do,
Yeah,
where you
please.
lay on the bad ear and spin it at a right angle, and Kiva assisted me on that. And that pretty much cleared it up. I mean, there's still a little residual, and it said it could be, but it made total sense for that to come on through the alignment, and also the fact that my searching for the energy field work. I was looking and looking. I said I wanted to get my hands on that, and thanks for sending that over. And I'm still going to keep looking for my other copy because I just cherish my book so much that happened with the intensives and all, to have the kids' drawings and my drawings and stuff in them. They're just
Yeah,
something
yeah,
I
those
just,
original notes. I hear you.
yeah, they're just so cute. And Michaela's stuff and Ian's worksheets, and they're like, and there's like, okay, I'd be happy to share them with them again at some point. And
Yeah, cool.
those little rascals were right in the middle of it, and that was good. So yeah, working through the stuff, and then there was kind of a breakthrough coming together, and for me personally on this assimilation of these different works. I had alluded to that on another show about looking at the different books and comparing languages and uh, kind of assimilating what was being said by each person and coming from their place, and that came together very nicely. I sent you a little copy of that worksheet that I laid out. That my goal is to create something that's readily, I don't know, what, just something that maybe is a little bit easier for neophytes, or especially people that come through the addiction and all, because early on it's pretty brutal, and their mind energies, pretty scattered and screwed up, and it takes a while to process through all that. And
For sure.
the first time you start getting into some of these deeper concepts, it can kind of disrupt their whole energy. And I noted that there's resistance, because they get indoctrinated into that certain way, and that's why that letting go of the need to be right to me is just so key to everything. Just being open-minded for new information to come in, and so I've been having a lot of fun with that. Had a really good connection with that work this morning. Yeah.
Awesome.
Terry,
Fabulous.
I have a question for Terry. This is Sue.
Hey, Sue.
Hi. What phase are you in with this work? You might have said that, but I might have missed something, because my grandson Luke had just passed his 3rd year of sobriety, and he is very active in AA, sponsoring, holding, giving talks. His job is with AA. And any way of introducing these tools that he could present to people he's working with would be just fabulous. And he has done a couple of wake-up sheets and found them pivotally important. Although he doesn't use the tools every day, he uses the 12 steps.
Mm-hmm. Well, this sheet that I got is a conglomeration, I guess, of 12-step, why again, Robert Scheinfeld, and another fellow, Jed McKenna, and their different works. Or there's some of it's pretty far out there, but so it's softened, so to speak, and there's a correlation in each step, and it identifies like the mutual sources and maybe a specific source, like why again is specifically noted in a couple of things, and I'm still editing it.
Mhm.
But that's the goal, is to be able to feed this to somebody who's like, okay, they've done the process there, and now they're looking to deepen their process, maybe go a little further with it. It's just so much that can be done. And the thought that entered my mind this morning to make sure that I put that out there, that's a pretty prominent saying in the recovery rooms. It's like, this isn't for people that need it, it's for people that want it. You can't force anything on anybody. This is something they want. So, I would just mention it to him, and if he's interested in looking at it, have him give me a little shout, and I'll send him one over, and we can walk through it or something, talk about it, and then can
All right.
maybe stir them into some other things. That's my hope, is that it'll just pique people's curiosity, and they'll
Mhm.
want to go further and learn more and dive deeper. Because the process, is huge for everyone's is different, and each perspective helps. I really feel that every time I can turn the camera at a little different angle, it can offer me insights and solutions that I couldn't see before.
I would think that he would likely be interested in the conversation just because you've been involved in the A program for so long.
Yeah.
And his trigger into recovery was a worksheet that Orb, which is the name they had for grandma, walked him
Yeah.
through a worksheet 3 years before. And
Mhm.
so I think that there might be room, Susan, for an introduction just based in that.
Yeah. I'll mention it to him. Jeannie just sent me a link. Now, is that your work with?
We actually did, gosh, probably close to a year. I put 2 links in the chat room, and a lady named Gail, who had been in the AA, for a long time, and she would call in, and we actually called it Recovery Wednesdays after a while. And she'd say, the first step in the 12 steps says this, and in your work, it says this, and that's, and so she would compare the parallel between the 12-step program and this work.
Great. Okay, well, I've copied the links into my notes so that when the show goes away, I still have them. Thank you.
You're
Cool.
welcome.
Yeah, and that was one of the earlier sheets that I created about 10 years ago or so. It was a 10-step combination of the 12 steps with tying in the Wyangan work, but I just couldn't get it to mesh exactly right. And I presented it to a lot of 12-step folks, and more or less fell on deaf ears. But Andrea really liked it because she has this 12-step background. But then
Mhm.
this newer one is even a little bit broader of a language, is something that may be easier for someone to assimilate and to grow into.
Yeah. Well, great connection because they need the tools. I did AA, but the progress I made with the tools was I just made better use of the tools than I had with the AA steps. So putting them together sounds like a banquet.
Yes, definitely.
And Kerry, the mention that you made of how difficult it is for the mind to start to wrap itself around. There's a little bit of writing that I did in the opening of my book at the end of suffering, and I mentioned this the other day that the term that was used in the scriptures by Isaiah is that one's mind is waxed gross. And I think that, virtually any mind that's steeped in the world of blame is in that posture. So here's what I had written about that. And I think it applies to introducing just about anybody that's new to the work. A person whose mind is waxed gross is one imbued with the idea that their problems are external, that they're innocent victims, that that their minds cannot even generate a reality that demonstrates awareness that they're involved in their lives. They become devout card-carrying members of the outer directed one world universal religion of blame. The blockage of truth is so deep they cannot conceive of looking within for the root of their repeating problems. And that a parable is designed to go around that mind that's wax gross, that is in the world mind, and bypass the blocks. And so, parable, I think, is really a big key. And you look at Yeshua 2,000 years ago, and he talks about, I speak to everybody in parables because hearing they do not hear and seeing they do not see. But then he has this inner group that he's been working with, the disciples, and he says, I'm giving you guys this great goods. But even then, you listen, and at their last big meeting with him when he was still in his body, he says, and this is after 3 years full time with him, which kind of tells you that when they started with him, their minds were wax gross. He says, there's so many things I want to tell you, but you can't hear them. And, that's the process, is for people to stay around long enough to get past that mind being wax gross, being locked into the blame and the projection game. And at least starting to be able to conceive of, maybe I'm involved in my life. Maybe it isn't everybody else. And that's a huge piece of work. And so a parable is designed to go around a mind that's wax gross, that's stuck in the world mind, and bypass those blocks. And of course, the biggest piece of work that every one of us needs to do is to forgive the big lie. That the problems are out there, and then building the brain cells for functioning out of responsibility. So you can almost hear Yeshua saying to those about where, he's inviting them to live this first law. You can almost imagine he's saying, until a higher understanding of life that I'm presenting, until the awareness that matches or surpasses mine pervades your own mind. He's saying the mind is so full of mistaken beliefs that, like the average human being that's not done the requisite inner work, my light cannot penetrate. It can't get in. And really, at each level, each new beginning, to invite that light to penetrate.
Absolutely. I want to comment on that right quick. For one, Isaiah 30:15, and quietness and confidence shall be your strength, was like one of the first Bible verses that ever spoke to me, that I wrote down and carried around with me in those early years of recovery. Yeah, that was my go-to. I didn't know much about the Bible at all, never read it and all, but that verse came to me, and I said, that's it. And quietness and confidence, it just resonated through my whole body. And one of the things about the AA program was that if you do that 4-step exactly as the directions call for, and you keep digging and digging and digging, and you do the mind shifter work and the writing and all that, I got to the point where I realized that no matter what had happened in my life, at some point in some fashion, I had set the ball rolling. So it opened the door for me to take complete responsibility for my life. Now, I had a lot of work to do, because that was just the beginning. That was just the first step, was the acknowledgement. Oh God, I was there every time. It's like, why is this happening to me again? I didn't have that language yet, and that was so key and powerful. But then it's like it gets kind of whooshy and and all that, and you can go. So far, there's all different levels and grades where you can go with that stuff, and my hope is just to make it more available, and so that more people that are wanting something are going to be able to bridge the gap,
Well, you've certainly got my support in that one.
Yeah.
The objective is every mind, heart, and being on the planet. And
Yep.
to do that, it's going to take a whole lot more than me.
Yeah, milk before meat, right?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, that's not legal.
I just put a quote in the chat room. It's from Richard Bach's book, Running from Safety, An Adventure of the Spirit. And it says, if it's never our fault, we can't take responsibility for it. If we can't take responsibility for it, we'll always be its victim.
That's
Getting
it.
someone to see their involvement in it and take responsibility and make a change. And some people are tied up, their identity's tied up in victimhood.
Bach
sure.
had such an impact on me when that movie, Jonathan Livingston Seagull, came out in the 70s. I went to see that as a young man, and it was like, wow. I didn't completely get it, but I knew there was something powerful about that, and it really hung with me. And I ended up getting that book, and there's another book of his, Illusions, later on. I believe it was called Illusions. He's got some good stuff.
Illusions is a great book. Everybody should read that one. And Jonathan Livingston. Actually, I think it's on YouTube. You can watch Jonathan Livingston Seagull on YouTube. I think it's a freebie out there. It's powerful.
I remember,
It's
I
a
remember
great
the theater.
parable.
Yeah, I remember the theater. I was with Kiva. We were like 16 years old when that thing came out, and we were both
Really?
watching that movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How cool is that? Portents of things to come.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, any other thoughts for you, Miss Susan?
No, it's been a great day. Thanks.
All right. Appreciate you. Blessings, everybody. Thanks for joining us.